many people in America fear their government, and the government is being run by too many powerful agencies like the IRS and others. I think it's time the people take the country back through their representative government.
Hey, Mr. Politician, living on that hill, living in that life of luxury, on we the people's bill. Don't have a clue how the other half lives, and that is a shame. It's time to stop the tyranny. You keep pushing through your bills. Going for revolution, going for it now. It's time to save our Constitution while we still got the guns in our hands.
Hi, welcome to Freedom TV. I'm your host, Renee Kimball. And we're going to have a very interesting program for you today. We're going to be talking all about all pretty things called jewels and jewelry. And we're also going to be talking about how to tell when something's real and when something isn't real. We'll show you a lot of information about that. So we'll be back with that shortly. But first, we have our Sovereign Soapbox. And today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting. This is Ezekiel Emanuel's Principles of Allocation of Scarce Medical Interventions. Now, my only two questions is, who gets to decide what's scarce, and who gets to decide who's going to get what? Because if you look at this chart, if you're under 10 or you're over 55, you're just out of luck. You're not going to get very much of anything. And seeing as how those are the two areas where most of your medical stuff happens, if it's going to happen, I'm just wondering, at the bottom of the screen where it says, how old do you want to be? I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me. I would rather be able to allocate my own health resources. Thank you very much, Ezekiel. So that's our Sovereign Soapbox for today. And now we're going to be going straight into our Surviving and Thriving segment with Gene Ward. This one is Thriving in the Wilderness, and he's also going to be showing you a little bit about a kit that they put together, which is extremely valuable and very, very well done. So sit back and relax. Gene Ward and Surviving and Thriving.
Surviving out here pretty much boils down to this. If you can build a reasonably comfortable shelter that will protect you from the wind, the rain, and the snow, and you add the warmth of a small fire, you're not in a life-threatening situation. But let me add just one more trick. Inside of this small tinfoil pouch is one large cotton ball thoroughly saturated with Vaseline petroleum jelly. With my knife, I very carefully cut an X to within 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the pouch, and then fold each corner back to expose the contents. To form a wick, I use the pliers of my Leatherman Wave. Next, I shave off a small pile of pitchwood from the handle of my SOS fire starter and place them atop my wick. I have found that it is much easier to take a sliver of pitchwood and shave it down to the end to form a makeshift match. A couple of firm strokes down my mesh metal rod and I'm good to go. I know that several survival instructors claim that these Vaseline-soaked cotton balls can burn anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I have discovered that they can burn for up to an hour when they're encased in these tinfoil pouches. The combination of pitchwood and cotton balls soaked with petroleum jelly is pretty much a surefire thing for getting that hard-to-start fire going, even in some of the worst weather conditions. When the shadows are as long as they're going to get, and the sun starts to disappear below the horizon, it's time to batten down the hatches and introduce you to a concept that is rarely taught in the survival business: building a small fire inside of your shelter. It just doesn't make sense to me. If a storm is raging on the outside, I certainly don't want to go out there in the storm and sit by a fire in an attempt to stay warm. I would much rather be on the inside where it's dry and warm, and I'm protected from the wind and the rain and the snow. And because a small fire on the inside is far better than a large fire on the outside, I won't have to spend nearly as much time gathering firewood. Here's what I believe. If you have to spend an unexpected night in the wilds, it doesn't have to be a life-threatening event for either you or your loved ones. If you practice the skills that I have taught you in this video and put together a small survival kit with the plastic bags, the duct tape, the zip ties, parachute cord, and a good fire starter, you can be right where I am now, confident that while you are waiting for the rescuers to find you, you won't be just surviving this experience. You'll be thriving instead.
Hi, welcome back to Freedom TV, and I'm here with Dodie Warner, and we're going to be talking about jewels and how to tell jewels and where you can get jewels and where they all come from. And a lot of the things that you have are much older than the things that you go into a store today and buy new. Right. These are all antique, collectible.
They do. Some will go to, I don't generally try and find anything that is past the 1980s. Because, and there was some really interesting jewelry in the 1980s, but a great many of these come from before the turn of the last century, and most of them will come from between the 1930s and the 1960s. That's where you'll find a great many of your jewels.
Now, what are some of the things that make things collectible? Why are things collectible?
Well, glitz is a
glitz.
Glitz is a good one.
If it glitters,
it's got value. If it has age and it glitters, it has value. Probably, though, the most important thing is if it is signed, and even if it's not signed, if you can tell it's done by a designer.
Right, and there are certain designers that are much more sought after than other designers.
And there are some that are so rare you hardly have ever heard of them, and when you do find one of theirs, you're kind of thrown until you find out about them and that their item is, there's an old designer out there called HAR. Very little pieces come around with that on them. I think I have one piece of hard jewelry, but if you find a piece, it's worth quite a bit of money.
Yeah, right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your shop.
Okay.
Okay, this is a little bit different than having like a jewelry store.
Yes, it is.
The way you do it. It's a totally online thing, correct?
It's a virtual store.
It's a virtual store.
In a virtual mall.
In a virtual mall. So you don't even have the mall anymore. You just got the virtual.
It's just virtual, yeah.
And this is becoming more and more a way of doing business, I guess.
Very popular, really very popular. And it doesn't just have to be jewelry.
Right, you can just do it any old way.
Anything that's old and collectible, yeah.
Anything that's old. And this has really changed the whole face of the collectible market, hasn't it, in the past, say, 5 to 10 years?
Very much so.
Right, because it's kind of leveled out the playing field, I know, as far as the price goes. Because when you can shop all over the world.
And you don't have the overhead that a brick and mortar store would place upon something. It changes everything.
It changes everything. Did it change? Did you notice that there was a big change in the availability of things? Did things become more available as people moved to the internet?
No, I don't think that changed because there were still very many, and especially in this part of the country and out where I live, antique stores. And antique jewelry and antique collectibles in antique stores have always been there and been there for many, many years and are very popular up here in the Northwest.
Right. Now, what's the difference between, say, doing business here in the Northwest and doing the same business in someplace like New York?
Well, that's an interesting question because it's one of the things I've actually learned about. I can go out and buy a piece of vintage costume jewelry at a garage sale or a thrift store or a flea market or someplace like that for maybe $2 or $3, if that. And then I go and investigate how much it's worth, and say it's worth not a significant amount. Let's just say it's worth somewhere around $20, $25. Well, I've only invested $3 in it, so I may put it online for $12 or $15. Then I get somebody from the East Coast who's dying to buy it at that price, because back there they can sell it for $40 or $50.
So there's a real radical difference in the price of things.
But they can't buy it for $2 or $3
right.
like I can.
So they have to. So it's really opened up the whole area of marketing throughout the states.
I tend to sell more to dealers than I do to collectors. Yes.
That's incredible. Well, we have a few pictures that I want to bring up and go through a few of the things that we've looked at, because I know that it's not just jewelry that you actually work with.
Yeah, I brought jewelry.
We brought jewelry today, but some of the things like this is a nice piece of jewelry,
and I have it here.
And we have it here, and we can look at it up close and personal. And we're actually going to be testing this one with some of the equipment you've got here to find out, what is this really made of here?
Yes, is it really real?
Is it really real?
Yeah.
So we're not going to tell you. We're just going to have you look at this ring, and you can decide later after we test it whether it's really real. And this is an interesting little piece. This is like a little fish.
I actually have this with me too. It's not out on the table, but this is what they consider Victorian. It is circa 1865 in that era in there.
Really,
and
that early?
Yes, even though the little tail actually has the 925 on it, and silver rating has gone up and down over the years. 0.999 is about as good as you're going to get on sterling silver. The norm is 0.925, which means it's 92.5% pure silver.
Pure silver, right. So if you find that on a piece of jewelry, that's what that means.
That is sterling silver. That is sterling silver. Anything less than that nowadays is not considered sterling silver unless it's antique.
Right.
You can go below that and have considered sterling if it's antique. New wouldn't be that way. This is actually marked 925.
And this was really interesting. Now, how big is this piece? This piece is actually very small.
It's about an inch, 2 inches, maybe
2 inches
at the most.
And look at the detail. That's incredible.
Well, it moves. Everything moves.
Everything moves.
Everything moves.
The little
tail
fins
moves, the fins move, everything moves.
Oh my gosh.
The little eye is an actual real sapphire.
Oh my gosh.
And it's hanging from sterling silver bar that only has a pin in the back with a little hook. There's no safety clasp.
There's no safety
you
clasp.
find in modern jewelry.
Modern jewelry. Okay, this is a piece of glass here, and I put this one in the group because this is how you tell what something is. I mean, it just looks like a ho-hum, glass figurine, blah, blah.
I think it's a fish, right? We're looking at.
And but when you turn it over, when you turn it over, it's got markings.
It's
Lalique, which is
the most collectible crystal glass in the world.
So, just because something looks like just a little paperweight may not be.
No.
Now, this is a nice piece. This is a bracelet.
This is on consignment from a very elderly lady, friend of my family. It is all sapphires and diamonds in 18-karat white gold.
Whoa, that's an exquisite piece. Now, would this be an older piece?
It is an older piece because she received it back in the 1960s, 1970s.
Right.
It's not what you would call antique, but it is collectible and vintage.
Now, what makes it antique?
Well, it has to be before Second World War to be really considered antique. And at my virtual mall, which is rubylane.com, it's considered antique if it's pre-World War II and over $100 in value.
Oh, okay. So that is actually a determination as to whether it's an antique.
They would prefer it to be pre-1900.
Yeah,
but
now, this is glass, and this is, I can't remember now. I think it's Fenton? I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, it's Jeanette or Fenton.
Jeanette.
I can't really tell from here. It looks like Jeanette to me.
Jeanette. And this is one of the things that I wanted to point out was, and this piece typified it, is condition is everything.
Yes.
Condition is everything. This is gold, and it's pretty, and if we can have the next picture, if there was just a tiny chip out of the handle,
ruins the whole thing.
It ruins the whole thing, and so nobody's really interested.
Well, no, it depends. If it's so rare,
if it's really rare,
yes, that there's nothing else like it really out there, damage doesn't necessarily devalue it.
Right.
And gold loss, like on a handle, in this case, if it's so old that you might expect to see what they would call normal wear and tear gold loss.
Right.
It wouldn't really necessarily affect the loss, maybe a few dollars or so, but it doesn't ruin the set.
It doesn't ruin the set. But if you had a big chip out of it.
Yes, a big chunk would be.
Yeah.
not happy.
And this is exactly what you're talking about. This is a pocket watch.
It's a
and
very
it's
old
got
pocket watch.
substantial wear on the back.
It's very old. That is considered reasonable, expected wear. When something is nickel silver like that, and nickel silver is a much lower grade. It's
Right.
nowhere near sterling silver. And many of your old pocket watch people used nickel silver, Waltham, etc. That silver will scratch with rubbing in the pocket
Right.
against something
Well,
else.
obviously,
so.
you know, you take it in and out of your pocket, and this is just a detail inside the watch to just
Well,
show
you can see the jewel
exquisite.
movement, yes.
Yeah.
And the jewels are always either sapphires or rubies.
Really?
Yes, that's jewel movement. That's what it means.
Oh, that makes sense. Now this is an interesting piece. Now
yeah.
what's this one made out
It's
of?
made out of what they call Bakelite, was a forerunner or the precursor to plastic.
Right. Oh, so this was like the first plastic.
Yeah. That's,
Now, and someone once told me there's a way you can tell if something's Bakelite. You rub it or something?
you can rub it on your hand and it'll emanate an aroma. It'll get warm and have a slight odor to it, aroma to it, that some people really like. I don't care for the aroma quite so much, but some people really
But
like the
it is a
aroma.
way that you can tell if
It
it's
is.
really Bakelite.
Yes, it is.
So- and this is a little figurine.
And that's a Toby jug, yeah.
A Toby jug, that's what they're called.
Well, it's a Toby pitcher or mug or something.
And this shows you again the front, the back, and everything is just perfect on it.
Yes,
just
it is.
absolutely perfect.
It's very, very British.
And then the underside tells you
Where it was made.
where it was made and what it exactly is. So you can tell pretty much on these little things.
Very easy
Now,
to tell.
on something like this, if it had a chip in it, that would pretty much
Yeah.
toast it.
Yeah, there's a lot of these around, so yeah.
A chip, nobody's interested in collecting it. And here we have the first edition books.
I have a few of these, yes. This is an interesting one about trees, and it is a first edition. It's circa, I think it's 1920 something or 1917.
I can't see it.
Yeah,
I think it's 30.
it dates it. There is the
Yeah.
date of but it is a first edition, yeah.
And really nice little collectible
Yes,
book.
in very good
And
condition.
dolls, of course.
Well, some dolls, people, there are many people who collect dolls, and some dolls are more collectible than others, and this is not particularly collectible. To some it is. Oftentimes people want them for their grandkids because they had them when they were young.
Yeah.
These are called
Okay.
storybook dolls.
Okay, great. And this is another
Yeah,
figurine.
It's a Yadro, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, okay, it's not my taste. I would look at this at a garage sale and go, oh well, ho hum. You know, I wouldn't look at it twice. But if you turn it over and see that name, whoa, that's a deal.
Spanish porcelain.
Spanish
and that
porcelain.
little piece is worth well over $400.
Really,
Mm-hmm.
that's incredible. And this is made in Japan.
Good example of this, yes.
And those are now this would be
1960s.
1960s, and this is considered a collectible. People
Made in
like
Japan,
this
yeah.
particular thing, and they like collecting it.
Very much so.
And this is
Nortaki,
Nortaki, of course. which
Very,
is-
also vintage though.
and that's vintage. And Nortaki is one of the
Higher end Japanese porcelain makers.
really
Very high
now.
end.
What would you say vintage would be in Nortaki?
Well, Noritaki's been around since the 50s. They may have been pre-World War II, but we didn't see it particularly.
Right.
It started coming over to the United States in the 1950s. I would say that's 1960-ish or
Right.
so.
Now this is the occupied Japan.
That was a very
pieces.
brief time. We occupied Japan from 1945, 46 until early mid-50s, somewhere in there, early mid-50s.
Right.
So in order to get their economy going again, the United States and Great Britain and several other countries asked to have them make their porcelain products because they were good at it. And it was very rough and not particularly well made in some circumstances, but it is stamped on the bottom, made in occupied Japan.
Right.
And
so
that
these little
stamp-
pieces,
yeah.
even though they're not really good quality.
Well, then they sold for only $1 or $2, if
right.
that, yeah.
And this is the quote, the tiki-taki that first came out of
Yes,
Japan
yes.
that people always talk about.
But you always want to look at that they will tell you years, and I'm not sure of the differentiation. Some stamps are red, some are green, some are black. They all have a
okay.
meaning. I don't know what they are. So.
And that's it. That's for our pictures. Excellent. Well, we have a few minutes before we're going to have to take a little break. And I'd like to take a cruise through some of these little things.
All right.
So if we can look at the blue necklace down there on the table. This one's, now, is this a jewel? Are these
That is
jewels?
true rhinestone.
These are okay. What's the difference between true rhinestone and
Crystals or like
so there's-
Swarovski crystals or
Yeah.
something like that? Not a lot, actually.
Really?
Swarovski crystals come from Australia, and they're considered on the newer side from the 1960s, 1970s. I've been to the factory. It's very bizarre. But
Yeah.
true rhinestones came from the Rhine Valley. That's what they're called, rhinestones.
Rhinestones.
And some miners and people found these in the riverbed area and thought they were very, like diamonds or something. It turned out they weren't. They were a different kind of stone. They were named rhinestones, and this goes
so
way
this is a
back.
found stone. This isn't a cut glass or crystal.
No,
this
it is
actually
a found stone. Yes,
a found stone.
and
okay.
rhinestones go way back. You're talking. You can go back to the late 1800s in that era
Really?
when they first came out.
And so they were
rhinestones.
kind of like a cheap diamond.
They certainly were.
Right.
But they weren't all that cheap because
No.
they were hard to come by in many
Right.
instances. That particular blue set is from the 1950s. It was made by Bogoff. That was a husband and wife designer team that only made jewelry for about 6 years or so. They only made what they called full parures. There's demi-parures and full parures. And a full parure consisted of at least 3 pieces, sometimes more. Here we have the earrings, the necklace, and the bracelet. Very, very well made, very fine jewelry, sold for a lot of money for those days, and worth in the hundreds of dollars. That set is worth $200-300.
Right. And this next one over here, if we can move to
Now
that one.
is the creme de la creme of rhinestone.
Okay,
Can
can we get in on that little one there? Can you get, let me hold
hold
that.
it?
Let me hold it up.
Okay,
there we
that
go.
is Eisenberg.
Is that a little bit better?
Is it? That's
Yeah.
Eisenberg, and that is what they call a fur clip. It has big
A fur clip.
It has a big old prong on the back
I can
of
see
it.
PETA jumping up and down now.
Well, furs back in those days, because
Right.
that was made in the 1930s. It is all sterling silver with original rhinestones, and it is fully signed. Eisenberg Sterling on the back.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, now if we can go to that, the bracelet that's
Now
next to
that's
it.
fun. That's circa the 1960s.
The circa 19? Okay.
Yeah, the bracelet
Okay.
rack and the little
Can
one
you-
sitting in front. You want to hold that one up?
Do you want me to hold it up here, or no, I'll hold it?
That's
Here we
fun.
go.
That's from the
Okay.
1960s. That's
This
what
is
I
from the
call,
60s, huh?
That's what I call glitz.
This is the dawning
That's
of the
glitz.
age of Aquarius. There you go. And so this is true glitz.
That's glitz. That's just for fun.
just for fun.
Not worth a lot, but
Yeah,
if you
but
can pick it up
looks
for not
good.
very much, you
Yeah.
can sell it for a little more.
Yeah, so those are kind of
There's
interesting.
a lot of people who really like that kind of jewelry. So.
Okay, and I think we've got a rack of bracelets here.
Different kinds of bracelets.
Yeah,
There's all
let's
sorts
go.
of different things on there.
If we can get a picture of that one, we can just kind of cruise through the bracelets and see what these guys are. And if you can describe what they are.
Well,
See
the
on
one
the
on the
end?
very end here.
Well, this is
this
let's start
end?
this
Okay,
end. Yeah.
that one is just a very base metal, what they call a cuff bracelet. You just hook it over your wrist and put it on. You can squeeze it to make it a little tighter or open up and make it a little
Right.
looser. It's not anything really fancy. It probably is signed by a
Right.
designer of some sort.
And then the next one is that
That's the
Bakelite.
Bakelite.
That's
That's
the
the one we were
Bakelite.
showing.
So that one is the one, and it looks. Some of the Bakelite looks like bones.
Well,
Some of it looks
well,
like
one way
plastic.
to test it is to take what they call a hot match. And if it melts, it's Bakelite. If it doesn't, it's bone.
Oh, but you don't want to melt it.
You want to do on the
Oh,
back
yeah.
side and a little tiny corner so you're not hurting
Okay,
them.
we're going to take a short break,
Okay.
and we're going to go into our first roll-in, and when we come back, we can go through some of the other pieces and also a little bit of testing.
Yes.
That's the interesting part. So right now, we're going to go to a little roll-in of somebody who's been on the show before, and that's Dove Lewis. They're a local organization that takes care of pets. They're a 24-hour emergency hospital for animals. So sit back and enjoy Dove Lewis.
Grab a bus, take a cab, walk your dog to the Lucky Lab. Honey, let us wash your salty dog.
It's a dog's world at the annual Dove Lewis Dogtoberfest, a chance for pooches and their people to mix it up with a bath and a brew.
If we can wash your little doggy, then he might get a little soggy. Honey,
More than 100 volunteers are washing hundreds of dogs, all to benefit the Dove Lewis Blood Bank. That's one of several unique programs offered to the community by the Emergency Animal Hospital, which has been saving lives for more than 30 years.
honey, let us wash your salty dog.
Healthy animal companions are a joy to their human caretakers. But times aren't always carefree.
You might have a little internal trauma.
It is a weekend, the middle of the night. Emergency medical care is needed, and that's when Dove Lewis Emergency and ICU Animal Hospital steps up to save the life of a suffering animal.
She ate 2 dozen warm chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate can be deadly for dogs.
In the waiting room, Mitra's owner, Pat, anxiously awaits word from the doctors.
It's reassuring to know there's a place you can bring your pet when things like this happen.
Mitra is getting the best care possible at one of the most advanced critical care emergency veterinary hospitals in the country.
Staff at Dove Lewis 2 hospitals treat both emergency and intensive care patients. With state-of-the-art equipment, veterinary staff can use the latest in medical technology tools to diagnose and treat sick and injured animals.
No more cookies for you.
Boston Terrier started attacking my dog. They started fighting, and the pit bull ran over, started attacking Cosita, my dog, and just a nightmare. It was the most helpless feeling.
Fortunately, most patients have happy outcomes. Dove Lewis has several programs serving the animal-loving and veterinary community, including pet loss support, animal-assisted therapy, and one of the largest blood banks in the country, which serves as a national model. Volunteers like Winna come to Dove Lewis regularly to donate blood.
What's really nice about it is it's a way that dogs can give back to their dog community. Winna is actually going to save another dog.
Bear looks forward to her regular visit.
Once we found out we had both of our dogs typed and Bear had the universal blood type, so I think it's a wonderful program.
Bear and Winna join more than 300 volunteer dog and cat blood donors who together help treat nearly 1,000 animals each year. That's why we call these lifesavers superheroes. It is a fact of life. We often outlive our beloved animal companions. Dove Lewis recognizes and honors the human-animal bond and understands that feelings linger long after the loss of a pet. The Pet Loss Support Program offers a nurturing place for bereaved pet owners to grieve. One of the first in the country, the program offers 5 free drop-in therapy sessions each month.
He was 15. He was just such an integral part of the family.
Hannah came to me at 4.5 years old. The minute she and I connected, I just knew she had to be my dog.
He was 14 years, 13 days old when I lost him. We were together for a little more than 11 years.
And through the sharing comes healing.
It's absolutely amazing, the transformation that's happened to me through the program.
And through the Memorial Art Workshop, participants can create lasting memories of their departed animal companions in the form of art.
I made this piece of artwork glass at the session. There's a little bit of Hannah's ashes, and I just kind of feel she's always with me. I just get in there with all these people who are in the same situation you are, that they're grieving and they're working through it.
Red-tailed hawk sitting in the middle of the freeway watching cars go by is not normal behavior.
Good Samaritans bring many stray and wild animals to Dove Lewis for care.
They do this to make themselves look scary.
A father and son found this red-tailed hawk in the middle of a highway and brought him to Dove Lewis.
He was on the freeway, in the middle of the freeway, just sitting watching the cars go by. They were able to encroach right up on him and scoop him right up.
Dove Lewis never turns away an injured stray or wild animal.
Dove Lewis spends hundreds of thousands of dollars each year on medical care for these animals. A search for owners of lost pets is then launched on the Lost and Found Internet database.
Who are you going to go see? Oh, where's that?
Sometimes it's people who are sick, and Dove Lewis animal-assisted therapy teams come to their aid.
Hurry, come say hi to Candace.
Dove Lewis award-winning therapy program, another free community service, brings 200 volunteer teams, animals and their people, to various locations throughout the Portland metro area.
Oh, he likes that.
Hartley and his handler Naomi visit patients at Dornbecker Children's Hospital.
Therapy teams also visit other hospitals and places like assisted living facilities, schools, and libraries.
There's the doggy. This is Hartley. Hartley. This is Hartley. Hartley, sit. Good boy. Oh my gosh. Hartley.
These therapists are specially trained to interact with people, helping to cheer them up and bring their stress level down.
Hi, Trinity. Do you want to visit from Hartley? Yeah? Okay. Can he come sit on your bed with you? Okay. You come here, and all the kids here at Dornbecker are so amazing, and I would say almost all of them have like a total love of dogs and animals. So for him to be able to come and sit up on a bed, and a kid to be able to pet a dog and be able to be having that sort of really outdoors almost experience while they're stuck in the hospital is just really great.
He loves kissing.
Yes, he does.
For children like Trinity, who get to pet and play with Hartley, it is the brightest part of their day.
It brings a lot of smiles to a lot of people, and that makes me really happy.
We at Dove Lewis believe in the invisible yet undeniable bond between humans and their beloved companions. We believe animals are not pets, they're gifts. We believe they speak to us and that their happiness is tied to ours. Dove Lewis exists because of this unique relationship. We are committed to providing Portland's best friends with the best in emergency critical care. If there were ever a place in this world that symbolized the love that people have for animals, it would be Dove Lewis.
Hi, welcome back to Freedom TV. I'm here with Dodie Warner, and we're talking about jewelry, and we're going to be showing you some stuff, how to tell some of the fake stuff. And we were on bracelets, so let's go back to the bracelets, and we'll kind of rip through those guys and show some of the really interesting, intricate things that I mean, the variety is just incredible. So the third one that we were looking at down here is the silver one.
Yes.
That's called filigree, is that what it's called?
Yes, that is all filigree. It is all articulated. And it is Victorian to Edwardian, somewhere around the turn of the last century.
Right.
What makes it unique, it's not, there's no markings on it whatsoever, but it is silver. Probably more silver than anything else, more than sterling.
Right.
I mean, you can test for silver. There's a way to do it, but I don't have that here.
Now, what's this big bangle thing here? That's
just a fun bracelet. It's
just
got
a fun one.
Yeah, it's got what they call a loose side plastic top on it that's been painted. You know, it's been stained or colored in such a way to make it orange. That's what we call an estate bracelet because it actually has a clasp, but it is a hard bracelet. It is not a soft bracelet.
Right. And then the next one, is that a...
That's Bakelite.
That's Bakelite again.
Yeah, little Bakelite
so they come
bands.
In
all
Bakelite
different
bands,
sizes
all
and
different
kinds.
sizes and kinds.
Right. And I have some just regular bangles there that are sterling silver. There's another estate bracelet, bangle bracelet. There's a silver one in there, and then there's an enamel one with...
That one feels like glass.
That one is probably Bakelite as well.
Bakelite? Oh, that's how I can get fooled. And now, what's this pretty...
That's just enamel. That's called enamel work. That's
enamel
1960s, work. Yeah. And it's just your basic clasp bracelet where it has a hinge at one end and a clasp at the other. And then you've got some sterling. The one on the end, though, that is something else.
The
very
white
last one? Yeah, the white and rhinestone. That's a signed piece of...
Oh, I see. It's all together. I thought it was three.
Yeah, it's called Symphony. Symphony made very fine, very unusual jewelry, generally combining rhinestones with some other form of stone. And in this case, it's glass. It's what they call white milk glass and rhinestone. And that's a rather expensive piece of jewelry.
Yeah. Okay, and the necklaces down in front?
Yeah.
Let's see, we've got a little...
The earrings, there's a demi-parure. That's where you have the earrings and the necklace, or you can have an earring and brooch, earrings and bracelet, or earrings and necklace.
And so that would be a demi-parure, is like two pieces.
Mm-hmm. And it's all beautiful rhinestones, generally with a hook clasp. That'll date it to the 1950s.
Right.
That hook on the back rather than a regular
So the clasp can actually help you date some of the stuff,
Right, and the fact that the earrings are screwbacks will also date it, because they pretty much switched to clip-ons in the 1960s. So you can still get some screwbacks in the 50s. But
and this one here in the back.
Well, I brought that along because it's different.
The bugle
It's
bugle
called
beads?
Bugle beads, and those are
That's really
like
neat.
silver or white, sort of aurora borealis bugle beads, and they call that a torsade, Torsade necklace.
And that's the silver one here in back.
In the back, and the black.
In the back. Well, we didn't get that one. But here I have a little box of goodies, and I'm going to try and tip these up without tipping them over. If we can go through some of these guys.
Well, the ones you're pointing out right there are by a designer called Swoboda.
Let me hold that up.
And the reason I brought those along is because they're just a base gold tone metal clip-ons. But this gentleman did something different from other jewelry makers. He put semi-precious stones in them. Those are all amethyst crystals.
Really?
Yes.
And so he's got base metal.
Base metal.
With
and
amethyst crystal.
semi-precious.
Okay.
You could find real pearls. You could find citrines.
Really? That's
you
amazing.
could find all sorts of different stones that were
Now,
semi-precious.
Well, now, what about these guys? These
Those
kinda
are
pretty.
assigned Kramer. Kramer, K-R-A-M-E-R.
And that's a pretty sought after.
Right below Weiss and Eisenberg in the way of rhinestone jewelry.
Right,
Very
excellent.
collectible.
Now we got this little Christmas jewelry, and I've seen at the antique shows. There are people who just specialize in Christmas jewelry. I mean, it's really amazing.
It's really
stuff.
amazing, yeah.
Oops,
That
one hiding.
together, yeah. Those particular sets are both by Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. Truly one of the most collectible rhinestone jewelry designers out there. Ranks just below Eisenberg, basically. But
Right.
to get a demi-parure in Weiss and in the Christmas designs, whether it's in the bells or the Christmas trees, is really exciting. That's
Really?
always a real fun find. One of the things, though, you do have to be careful about, if you'll notice.
Big.
Yes, you
okay,
have a
and that's
large
the next
Christmas
one.
tree and
okay,
a small
there we
Christmas
go.
tree.
I don't know. Can I tip those up so you guys can see them? I don't know. Should I hold them up? Yeah, let me just hold them up. One of them has earrings. This is one Christmas tree, and they look pretty similar actually.
One's just slightly larger than the other, and a little bit different in the design. The earrings actually match the smaller one, and if you turn them over, you will
let's see
see
if I
that there's a little oval cartouche on the back of them that says Weiss.
Yeah.
However,
a little oval.
there is.
On both of
However,
them.
this one is finished in what they call rhodium, which is a derivative of platinum. It's a rhodium finish, and many of your fine designers, all of your fine designers, basically used rhodium. This is just striated base metal, which tells me, and should tell anyone who is a jewelry collector, this is fake. This was made in the last few years.
Oh, really?
By a gentleman in Providence, Rhode Island, who decided to start recreating some of the more famous designers.
So he doesn't sell them as the real thing.
I don't know how he sells them because he's got Weiss on the back of it.
He's got Weiss on the back,
right,
yeah.
But we know it's
Yeah.
fake.
But again, you look at them from the front, and it would be really hard to tell.
It is hard to tell unless
you know
you're looking for it.
You're looking for the basement.
So be careful not to.
Yeah, so
buy the fakes.
Oh, look, it says Weiss. It must be real.
It's
Yeah,
not.
okay.
I'm also holding
Okay.
a really fine pair of porcelain earrings here.
And porcelain, that's glass.
Well,
fired glass?
it's China. It's
Oh,
actually
really?
China. Somebody has designed these. Generally, these come from England. They're made by one of the fine porcelain designers or houses in England, and they oftentimes did these pieces
Really?
of jewelry. I get brooches, I get earrings. I sometimes get a brooch and earring set.
Right.
These
and
are
will you find these? You've got a clasp on the back here. These are.
these are pierced, yes. But
these are pierced.
most of the time they're screwbacks. You'll find them in the screwback.
Really?
Yeah. These
And
have
the
to be
screwbacks
pierced.
are. Was there a period of time when people went to screwbacks or from?
When you first started wearing women. When women got away from wearing earbobs, there was a period of time where having your ears pierced was all that women did. That fell out of favor.
Oh, really?
It was considered not socially correct to have pierced earrings. So then they had to come up with another way of wearing earrings, and they figured out these little screwbacks.
Right.
It hid basically the metallic part of the earring, and you
Right.
just screwed it into your earlobe as
And they
heavily.
hurt.
Well, it depends. They're a lot more comfortable, I think, than the clips.
That's true.
I thought
That's
because
true.
you couldn't adjust the clips, you could
Yeah.
adjust the screwbacks, but you always had to be careful that they didn't
Adjust
fall
them
off.
off.
Yes.
Yeah.
The clips really came in the mid to late 1950s. There were a few before then, but in the 50s, the clips really came in and got most popular in the 60s. But then Pierced
everybody
earrings
went back to pierced earrings.
So then they all fell out of favor. So.
Yeah, so and then now everybody's
pierced
earrings.
Finding the clips is really difficult. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it can be.
Now, you've got some equipment over here I'd like
do.
to talk about a little bit. And this is equipment that will tell you, what's this little one down here in front?
Well, the little one, this one, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah.
This one is just a gram weight. If you have something that you've discovered is gold or silver, one of the things you want to know is how much it weighs, because gold is worth a lot, and right now
something
it's worth
that looks like gold isn't worth a lot.
If you can read the inside of the piece of jewelry and it says it's marked 10 karat or 14 karat or 18 karat, then you know, and it doesn't have GP or GF or anything after that, which means gold filled or gold plated. It's just marked 10K or 14K, then you've got real gold. And you want to find out how much it weighs. Generally, rings weigh anywhere from 2 to 7 grams.
Right.
And necklaces and bracelets will weigh more, but that's and this will weigh your gold for you.
So you can actually tell a great deal by.
Yeah, just turn it on and it goes to 0. And we'll take a gold ring here. Now there's a stone in this, you have to compensate for that a bit. This isn't giving me 0, but it would if I had it sitting on a flat plane.
It's not going to cooperate.
No. At home it does. I'm going to flash 2 on me. No, there's 0. Okay, now I put this on there and it weighs 5 grams. 6.5 grams. This weighs 6.5 grams.
So how would you compensate for your stone?
Well, I wouldn't. I'd probably take a 1 point off for the weight of that particular stone. So say it's 5.5 grams.
So that would give you a pretty good idea that it is gold.
It is. And well, I know it's gold because I've looked on the inside of this and it's marked 14 karat gold.
Right.
But you have to look for a marking. If something isn't marked and you're wondering if it's gold, then you have this.
Okay.
And this is a gold test kit.
And you know what? I'm getting the wrap-up signed. Okay. So we're going to do this right after we come back.
Okay.
We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be talking about, this is a little video about some of the people who've been on the show before. This is Columbia Eco Village. They're a unique little place out in East County, and they're going to be describing how they built a bench and a wall. So enjoy Columbia Eco Village.
Landscape team has been working with the maintenance team, thinking about the front on Killingsworth and making it more inviting. And we have a TriMet bus stop right there, and people have nowhere to sit. So we're thinking that this cement bench, after it's cleaned up, of course, would make a great place for people to sit. It's been here all the time, hidden in this fire circle, north of the deck and the farmhouse. We're going to lift it and out there and like it. We think that it'll be really good for these bus riders and for the front.
So Ken, what are you guys doing today?
Well, we're obeying the laws of feng shui. There's a road here, condos here, and the fence was like this. X, 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 X.
X's, these big X's.
An exclusive X fence all the way down between posts.
Don't come in.
So this one will go up, all the way up, and this one will go down, and they'll end up going straight.
It's now more open.
Instead of all these X's, they'll be straight lines. They'll look better.
Like, welcome to Columbia Eco Village. We love you. Please come.
And then behind it, we'll put the field fence that I was showing you earlier. It's farm field, field farm, farm field, something like that. Farm, let's see what's it called? Field fencing. And what we'll do is we'll stretch it across all the railroad ties that are out there on their ends. And then you can see these puddles that are in the sidewalk area. We're going to bring in some clover and some chips and plant and beautify the sidewalk and make it so it's not a muddy, wet area and make it easy to walk on.
Interesting crowd in Columbia Eco Village. If you get a chance, do go out and see what they've done out there. It's pretty amazing in their garden. is pretty spectacular. I got to give him credit for that. Now, Dodie, you were going to tell us, how do you tell a ring is gold if it's not even marked?
That's a fun thing to do. This is where my husband is really an interesting individual. He's the one who taught me a lot about this. For him, it's the find. He will go and find costume jewelry.
The thrill of the hunt.
The thrill of the hunt. But if he finds a piece of gold jewelry, he did just over the weekend, which is these pieces that are sitting in front of you here. He found them. One is platinum, the other two are gold. And he just goes ballistic when he finds it. And he pulls out his little gold kit to verify it. Even though it says 14 karat, he likes to verify. And we do like to verify it. And what you have here is acid. I believe these are all considered acids. And there's 10 karat acid, 14 karat acid, and 18 karat acid. And then you have this little piece of slate. And you scratch your ring or your piece of jewelry. It won't hurt the jewelry. It's gold, generally speaking. If it does, it's not gold. And you just put a scratch right there on the slate, and then you test it with the 10 karat gold. If the scratch disappears, it's 10 karat gold. But if it doesn't, then you try the 14 karat gold. And if it disappears, then it's 14 karat gold. But if it doesn't, then you try the 18 karat gold. And generally speaking, at that point, it will disappear because we don't do much here in America in the way of 22 karat or 24 karat.
Right. So,
although we do see it. I have seen it, and I do have pieces of it.
Right. So basically, what you're looking for is when it disappears,
yeah, and it
that's
telling you what
that's the gold content. That's excellent.
And gold content is interesting. Gold content is pure gold is 24 karat.
Right.
So if something's 14 karat, that's about 57% gold. If it's 18 karat, 75%
75% gold.
10 karat, you're down in the high 20s.
Right, right. Excellent. Now, you were going to show us, we have this ring.
We do.
Yes.
And this is my last piece of equipment here. Yes, this is a fun thing, too. This is what you call a gem tester.
And so this actually lets you determine whether this is a real gem or not.
And I have a little wand here. And the little wand has a little cap on it, which I'm going to remove. And it has a little prong that goes in and out. And this is the red zone, has a list of all these little white. It's hard for you to see, but there's all the different gems of the world practically out here. If it goes into green, it's diamond. But if it stays below the red and you press it, I'm using a very large stone so we don't have to work at it very hard. It's going up into sapphire. So this is a sapphire ring. Telling us right there. It's called a purple pink sapphire.
Right. So you know it's not, like I would have thought this was an amethyst.
Right. Or you might have thought, oh, anything that big is fake. It's
Fake.
glass.
It's glass.
No, it's not.
So
it's real.
It's actually worth a lot more than either amethyst or glass.
Yeah, very much, because it's sapphire. And it's sitting in one hunking large piece of 14 karat gold.
14 karat gold. That's your first clue right there. Okay, I think we have a phone question for you. Do you have a question for Dodie?
Hi, I just want to say you're pretty cool. I think that's really neat, finding all the gold jewelry and stuff. My parents have secondhand stores, and for years I dug through all the jewelry and tried to find things, and I get so much of it I don't get addicted to it. But having to see that test, it just really taught me a lot. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Did you have a question for Dodie?
I just want to ask. Actually, no, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to say that it's pretty neat seeing what you guys are doing and finding the stuff on the gold and all the neat things.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for watching the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, if she's got a lot of that jewelry, she should do something with it.
Yeah, that's true, because it's having a lot of the jewelry, a lot of times you'll just look at it and people think, oh, it's just costume jewelry. It's not real.
Right, right.
And in a lot of places, the costume jewelry is actually worth more than the real stuff because it's considered collectible. And
age, designer, and what it is.
What it is,
yes,
exactly.
It is.
What's the most popular thing, Dodie, that people like the most? What do people like the most?
I would say that most of the time I sell bracelets.
Really?
Yeah. People are always hot for
into the bracelets.
Brooches come in a very close second. And then earrings are right up there too.
Really?
Yeah, clip-ons, because you've got a lot of people out there who refuse to pierce their ears.
And we've got another call. In fact, we've got two calls. Yes, do you have a question for Dodie?
I do.
Hi.
Hi. I was wondering where you can get the gold testing kit and also the gem testing kit and how much they run.
Well, that's a good question, and I'm not really sure of the cost because this is really my husband's bailiwick. He repairs our jewelry as well as tests all of it. He's very involved in my store along with me. But you can buy any of these things online. You just type in gold testing equipment and go online and find different places where you can buy them. There are also some stores here in Portland where you can get them. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say them, but
yeah,
Simon & Gollop on Southeast 8th or 9th off of Powell is a jewelry wholesale store where you can buy every piece of equipment I have here.
Excellent. And thank you very much for calling. And do we have another call? Do we have another call?
Hi.
Hi. Do you have a question for Dodie?
Yes, I wanted to know, do you have a book?
Do I personally have a book? No, but are there jewelry books? By the thousand. You can buy books up the kazoo. I have maybe a half dozen that I refer to, but you could spend your entire life and money buying costume jewelry, vintage jewelry books. There are some great ones out there. I'm not going to recommend anyone in particular, but if you go to any of your antique stores, they will generally have those books as reference books, and you can see what they are.
That's excellent. Excellent. Well, very excellent. Well, I think we've learned a little bit here. I'm not sure, but I think I did. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about the jewelry, do you see fads? Do you see like styles coming in and out, or people going for things at this particular time and then maybe something else at another time?
Yes, you see that. You do see trends. One of those things, I didn't bring a sample of it, but I have quite a few pieces. Those of us who lived as teenagers back in the 1960s remember the enamel painted metal jewelry where you got the big daisy that was yellow in the center and white on the leaves and it was on metal, and it had matching earrings, or you had the big rose or the big flowers red and white, and they were all painted metal. Very, very popular in the 60s. Everyone had a piece of it or two. That is starting to make a huge comeback all of a sudden. All of a sudden that old painted metal jewelry is
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have another caller. Do you have a question here for Dodie?
Yes, I have two questions. One regarding testing of some of the hotter metals, like you talked about rhodium and platinum. And then secondly, have you seen any fall off in interest in collectibles and jewelry given the recession and all? I'll let you answer. Thank you.
Well, the answer to the very last of that is no. I was fully expecting to have my store lose pace with the economy falling the way it was. If anything, I have more business now than I did a year ago.
Really?
I don't know why. I have no answer for that.
That's incredible.
On testing the fine metals, I only have a gold tester. When you get into platinum, you're looking for PT 900 if you don't see something actually saying iridium, 10% iridium, platinum. It should say that inside the ring.
Right.
But if it doesn't, if it says PT 900, that is also platinum.
Platinum.
Right.
And platinum is probably the most expensive
metal.
Most expensive. Why is platinum the most expensive?
Harder to find. It's not found like gold. No, it's very, very rare.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Now, platinum is a silver colored?
Yes, here. This is platinum. This little ring here is hard to see. It's diamonds and platinum.
Right, and
it
so
is
this
marked
is
iridium platinum
and that's would be, and it has a different look than say, well, what's white gold?
White gold is white gold. They put a coloring of white. They colored the gold white and put it over the yellow gold. It is a process. It's a very. It's
Why
actually,
would you do this?
Because a lot of people don't care for yellow metal. They want white metal. There's many
but they
people
want
out there,
gold.
but they want gold.
Why don't you just get silver?
Because silver doesn't last as long as gold.
Oh,
It's not as valuable. But the gold is cheaper than platinum.
Right.
So it's in between.
So you do a white
made
gold.
A process. Yeah,
so
white
they
gold,
made a process.
White gold didn't really come out. I think you couldn't get white gold until I want to say the 1940s or 1950s. Before that, you could only have yellow gold. I may be off on that, but it was something like that.
And so, and most of the jewelry, in fact, probably all the jewelry, very little of it is ever like 24 karat gold.
Unless you're buying it in the Middle East.
Really?
Yes. My parents lived there for a while, so I do have 22, 24 karat gold. Personally, I own it. That they brought back. They hangs in the marketplaces, the strings of gold.
Really?
Yeah, and then they make your jewelry that way.
And,
but we don't sell it here
and
that
they
way.
would use that as value. They would use it as stored value.
And it's never stamped. You have to test it because they don't stamp their jewelry.
They just assume it's all there.
They don't stamp it that much in Europe. They may put a number on it, a gold number like 858 or so, which is a gold number.
Right.
But they don't say 14 karat or 18 karat like we do here. And we never ever make jewelry here in the United States above 18 karat.
Right. So that if it's
just too
above
soft.
that, you know it came out of the country.
It's just too
Yeah.
soft.
And it does. I know there's some of the coins, the collectible coins and gold coins that are manufactured, like Canada produces a 24 karat gold coin. You have to keep it in a case because just touching it,
it's too soft,
gets the gold off.
Right, you rub it off.
Oh my God. Well, Dodie, I really want to thank you for joining us here.
Well, thank you for having
and
me.
And showing us all these wonderful things and giving us an education on how you can tell what's real and what's not real. And well, I do have one last question for you. We have 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Okay.
What do you think will there be collectibles? What do you think would be a collectible that's manufactured today? What do you see as being a collectible in the future?
Well, jewelry. Whatever the jewelry is today, in 25 years it will be considered
a collectible.
Any of your fine porcelain, in 25 years will be considered collectible.
Right.
Anything that you are going to pay a premium for now that doesn't get broken or damaged and is not a fad.
Right.
Will be collectible in 25 years. However, there's exceptions to that. Some fads that are so unique and so different that they're only here for a very brief short time, and so very little of it exists, can become very collectible 25 years
Just
from now.
like the occupied Japan.
Yes, very,
exactly.
yeah.
The perfect example.
Junky stuff that's
very collectible. Well, thanks very much. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you for joining us on our show. And I hope you join us next week. We're going to have a surprise program for you next week. We're not going to tell you what it is. This is going to be one of our surprise ones. But as always, you're going to be seeing people who are doing and actually accomplishing and effecting change without the use of taxpayer money. They're doing it all on their own. So join us for Freedom TV next week. Thanks again.
I cry for my country, for the pain that it's been through. She's been made to suffer for the profit of a few. Storm clouds are forming, winds of change now touch our shores. Our hear forefathers are crying as the dream's been cruised. America, I show my love for thee with strength and loyalty. America, I show